What is up, my little Deinos? Vepsis here, your coach of the Helsinki Dragons, and I'm here for my UBL D-League Season 1 Week 4 battle versus Marolt and his team being the Slovenia Slowbros. His roster includes Mega Bayonet, Infernape, Hydreigon, which is one of his C captains, Slowbro, Raikou, Nidoking, Sylveon, Amoonguss, Empoleon, Yanmega, which is his second and final C captain, and Komala, running out his roster completely. So that is the matchup what we have in hand, and this is a very intriguing matchup because we are going up against another lower tier Mega that has been drafted this season, now in Mega Bayonet. Last week we faced a Mega Abomasnow team, so it's pretty cool to actually get to go up against these things and how it kind of feels to actually prepare for them and how threatening they can be, even being a lower tier Mega itself. And just like last week's opponent, this week's opponent has been able to utilize those 3 points that he freed up for himself with picking a lower tier Mega, and he picked a lot of depth in tier 2 with the Hydreigon, Slowbro, Raikou, Nidoking, and Sylveon, all of them being tier 2 mons, which is a pretty significant number compared to my own roster, for example, when it comes to tier 2s, because I was only able to afford one tier 2 mon in Starmie, what I was able to get. So that's definitely one of the biggest strengths that I see from his team, that he has a lot of solid mons, and he has tried to make them work together besides the Mega Bayonet itself, which is the main priority for him to really to showcase what he can do. And it's been a pretty cool quote-unquote meme that it's a kill leader this season, potentially, or right in the mix of it, right now being 5-0 if I remember right going into this matchup. So it's pretty cool in that sense. But besides all that, the biggest threats that I really expect to come into this game, or the big three that I have to be very cautious of, both in offensive or defensive role from his behalf, are the Infernape, Hydreigon, and Slowbro. The first two are the biggest offensive threats versus me in my eyes that I really had to respect properly, and Slowbro I feel like as a out of his defensive mons, that mon is the hardest for me to play around with and break potentially, cause some of my mons don't want to get scalp burn, that are the better suited to break it down, that I'm gonna be potentially bringing, and that's gonna show on my team building aspect. Because of its coverage and bulk and regenerator ability, it can be very annoying to play around with in that sense. So I expect those three to come, and outside of that it kind of comes down to Marolt himself, that what kind of more team structure he's going to have in itself and what kind of sets he wants to rely on. But speaking of team sets, let's go and see what I'm gonna be bringing started with my first mon. And the first mon of the team is gonna be Gordon the Rotom-Heat, with a mixed defensive set with Bolt Nature, Max HP, and other IVs are distributed on both defenses to avoid certain 2-hit KOs, which I found most useful, or even a 1-hit KO that I saw as a potential benchmark to hit. And we are running moves such as Volt Switch, Overheat, Thunder Wave, and Pain Split. And the idea with Thunder Wave is basically that I saw a very likely scenario, if the mon is gonna show up, that I heavily expected to come, being my own mascot and favorite mon in Hydreigon. And Hydreigon itself, because of its dual typing, having reliable recovery and how much pressure it can provide versus my own team, that mon can really utilize my Rotom-Heat as a free switching towards it and coming on those scenarios and really providing a lot of pressure, especially if I'm not going for a Volt Switch on the turn itself. So I wanted to have the option to Thunder Wave and cripple that thing for the remaining of the match, as long as he doesn't bring Heal Bear on Sylveon. And Thunder Waving anything else for speed control or for the RNG factor can of course come into play to my advantage, hopefully. And the second member of the team is gonna be Forgotten, the Kyurem-Black, and we are running a very special kind of Kyurem-Black this week, with Ice Beam, Shadow Ball, Light Screen, and Roost with a weakness policy on it. So we are running a very funky set, but the idea with this concept on this set is that it can punish. He's more of a passive responses to Kyurem-Black defensively wise on Sylveon and then Polian, for example, or even a Slowbro with a Focus Blast, because behind the light screen we can take any of the super effective or the coverage moves that those three could carry to hit me super effectively as hard as possible while trying to check it defensively. And then comes the surprise factor, hopefully in the weakness pose. And with Ice Beam and Shadow Ball, I basically cover everything on his team and hit it very hard at +2, especially with the modest nature that I'm running. Not necessarily max special attack, but quite heavily invest into it to make sure that I start OHKOing and two-shotting literally everything in front of me as I get into the +2. So very unique set. But hopefully it's gonna function as a very solid wall breaker. And by the way, this is gonna be my primary response defensively wise to a Slowbro, especially when it's going for the Scald, and that is gonna be the reason we don't see me running a physical type of move this week, just in case we don't get burned and crippled by it. And the third member of the team is gonna be our good old reliable Bob in Alola Mach, and we are running a very typical Alola Mach set with a Gluttony, Figgy Berry set, Careful Nature, mixed defensive, basically again just to make sure that I avoid certain 1-hit KOs and 2-hit KOs from both sides that I found valuable. And then we are running the Knocko, Poison Jab, Toxic and Recycle. And the idea with Toxic over something like Pursuit, which could have been very given for me to put on it, the idea with this is that off the chance I'd get crippled by Slowbros Scald throughout the battle, if I have to rely on this one to help breaking it down, for example if it's like a Calm Mind set, I can utilize this thing still to be a defensive response to it and Toxic it down and start wearing it down itself throughout the time with the Toxic itself. And me having the Recycle Berry set means that I can really prolong my longevity with this set. It can also function as a check to the Hydreigon, and with the Toxic I can also beat that thing 1v1 if it's not being paralyzed by my Rotom-Heat. So that is gonna be the Bob, and hopefully it's gonna be providing us very good team support and being that a great team player that it has been throughout this season so far. And the fourth member of the team is gonna be Frank Toad, the Seismitoad, and we are running a very unique Seismitoad yet again, cause I don't know how apparently run standard set with this thing. And we are running a Choice Scout Seismitoad with Adamant Nature, enough attack investment to secure us a kill versus a Infernape and Raikou in itself, and have a very high chance to kill Nidoking as well with my Earthquake. And then the other moves that we are running with it besides our main stab is gonna be Ice Punch and Knock Off, and the last move being Stealth Rocks as well. So this is gonna be my rocker in a pinch if necessary, functioning as a surprise factor and speed control versus his offensive threats. And the idea also having the Choice Cup, besides being a surprise factor, it can be also something to give myself information about his own mons, especially if they are Choice Scarf or not, cause outside of them being Choice Scarf, this thing should outspeed them as long as my own Choice Scarf is being attacked. And that can be huge information of some of the mons, especially the Infernape, which can be a lot of different things as we know about it, and it's very hard for me to tell throughout the prep itself too that what is the most likely set with it. So having the option to get the information out of it or killing it is just plus side from my point of view, and that is the reasoning behind this set. And the fifth member of the team is gonna be yet again the Toronto Blue, the Starmie, and like last week we are running a Choice Scout Starmie with Psyshock, Dazzling Gleam, Thunderbolt and Rapid Spin, and this time around we are also running Nature Cure as our ability just in case for potential status to being thrown out in our way. And the idea with this set is to be a Choice Scarfer as well besides the Seismitoad. This is gonna be the one which is gonna be functioning as a fail-safe and a potential winning condition in the back to revenge kill his offense once I've been able to deal with his defensive mons and break them down with my other mons, including my Kyurem-Black and including the last member of the team, which is hopefully gonna help in that regard. So this thing hopefully throughout the late game is always gonna be providing me fail-safe versus the Infernape or his other offensive threats, and deal with them offensively wise and take care of them from full, or if they have been whittled down a little bit. And the Last move being the rapid spin is just in case if he happens to bring stealth rocks and if I need to get rid of them, cause I do have a couple of mons weak to them, so it's better for me to be able to get rid of them in a pinch if I have to. And the final member of the team is gonna be Lenthal, the Landorus-Therian, finally with a very typical set that you would expect me to using on this thing with Earthquake, Fly, U-turn and Sword Dance holding Flynium Z, Adamant Nature, almost max attack, enough speed for a modest Nidoking, and enough SpDef investment to avoid O-Call from a Raikou with a Hidden Power Ice. And the idea with this mon itself functioning as not only a Volt Turn Core with Rotom-Heat and provide me momentum in a pinch, but also with the Flynium Z and Sword Dance, this gives me another way to break through his defenses, cause he doesn't have a good defensive response to this variant of Landorus-Therian. And with this thing and Kyurem-Black, hopefully I can break down his defenses, so my speed control in my water types can go through and take care of the offense, or with the help of Rotom-Heat's Thunder Wave, my other offensive threats hopefully can outspeed and kill them outright if they are crippled by Thunder Wave itself. So that is the concept of the team. And a big shoutouts to PichuBros for training my team this week, and also big shoutouts to my opponent and to AutoMatthic. Both of them actually recorded my game, but I chose to ask AutoMatthic at second try after I already asked Marolt to record my game, because of the fact that Marolt was only able to record the game from his perspective. So instead of having the video a little bit awkward in that regard, I did go ask very late from AutoMatthic if he's able to record that game from my perspective, which is a lot better for you all to see on this video itself. So shoutouts and big thank you for both of them for their efforts, so I'm able to provide this video. But now let's go and see how the battle is gonna go. Hopefully we can keep the winning streak going and keep pushing for the playoff spot. Hell hi Dragons! And here we are with the battle replay versus Marolt, and he's gonna be bringing in Slowbro, Yanmega, Empoleon, Infernape, Sylveon and Amoonguss. So he brought a very fat team with a Yanmega and Infernape, which definitely was something that I really didn't expect my opponent to go this defensive, but I guess he was really cautious of my offensive threats and felt more comfortable with this kind of route. And I do have to watch out for that fatness so I don't let my offensive responses to them get worn down too quickly and I'm like too reckless with them, or try to rush this battle and eventually lose to his walls. So I'm gonna be leading up with my Rotom-Heat cause it matches up the best versus all of his potential 6 mons. And I get the Volt Switch on his Slowbro what he decided to lead with, and that was a great Volt Switch and he did underhalf, so that is definitely a Assault-based Slowbro, which is great to know right from the get-go to intensify what that thing is all about. And he's gonna be going for the Safe Scald, and my Kyurem-Black will take it very well. And I guess thankfully he didn't get the burn. I didn't mind the burn because I don't have any kind of physical attacking moves, and it me being burned would have meant that I was very safe switching to Amoonguss even with a Spore, because then he could not put me in a sleep if I'm being burned obviously. Then I went for the Light Screen as he went to his Sylveon, and now I go for the Ice Beam, kinda hoping that he clicks Hyper Voice and I get my Weakness Policy and claim a kill afterwards from following turn. But he's gonna be actually scouting and go for a slow bottom pass, took the Ice Beam relatively well and goes into his Empoleon. I could have stayed in here, Light Screen being up, and gone for a Shadow Ball hoping that he clicks a Flash Cannon, but I figured that off the chance he does something else, I'm gonna be going to my Rotom-Heat, covering the Flash Cannon play really well, and I would probably take like 1 HP from it because I quad resist and the Light Screen is off. Or on. So I went into Rotom-Heat, and if he goes for the Stealth Rocks, I'm gonna be going for the Volt Switch and hopefully get a matchup where I get my Starmie in, and that is gonna be the case. What happens that he went for his Stealth Rocks, went to his Sylveon, take any one hit from my Rotom-Heat, being for example the Volt Switch. So here I'm gonna be taking this final turn of the Light Screen, going for the Rapid Spin, as I expect him to go for the Wish. Even if he went for the attacking move instead for whatever reason, the Light Screen was up still this turn, and you're gonna be seeing it's gonna be worn off. So the Hyper Voice would have done a lot less damage than normal it would, unless he would have crit through the Light Screen itself. So after he goes for the wish, as I got the stealth rocks away from my side of the field, which I definitely wanted to keep it that way because I do have my Rotom-Heat that I rely on as a pivot, and I don't want my Kyurem-Black taking that chip damage either. So I went to my Rotom-Heat expecting a Hyper Voice. Even if he went for a bottom pass, I didn't mind whatever came in front of me. And here I went for the Thunder Wave, wanting to paralyze this Sylveon to slow it down for my Alola Mach to outspeed it. And off the chance I get like a cheeky paralysis every now and then. And I wanted actually my Rotom-Heat to stay on that turn as well. That whatever he comes in on, cause his only response to this thing is the Slowbro, cause it's the only thing that can take a hit. And now me revealing the Thunder Wave, the Infernape doesn't wanna come on me either and try to wear me down with close combats. So either way, I was always a great position with my Rotom-Heat to click Volt Switch, and the same progress happens again as earlier in turn 1 and 2 that I swap into my Kyurem-Black. I have to always keep in mind the potential Focus Blast on that Slowbro because it is Assault Vest, and that definitely can be a coverage move for him to carry. But as long as I keep myself outside of range of Kyurem-Black dying on a switching even to a modest max special attack Slowbro, which at this point I didn't think he was, unless he was getting very rolls with these cards, or if I was doing my cogs wrong, but off the chance he happened to be modest max special attack, I always try to keep my Kyurem-Black outside of range of that, and because he's not getting a Scalp Burn, it helps me to do that aspect. And he made a very strong play with the Infernape, as you saw earlier on my Kyurem-Black, as I went for this light screen just like last time. So he was able to get me there, but this was where I was able to get him back yet again after he went for a very strong play on a following turn and U-turned out, knowing that I didn't want to stay in my Kyurem-Black versus a Infernape. So that's where it came into play, that I went to my Seismitoad, I took the U-turn, revealing that it's not Choice Banded, and he went to his Amoonguss. Now you saw that I went for the Stealth Rocks and he went for the Spore. The reason why I make this kind of like a reckless play is that I felt really confident that he is going for the Spore. I would think he would carry it versus me. I have seen him carry it every single time he has brought Amoonguss so far, and I figured that would be his best play considering that I had Rotom-Heat, Kyurem-Black and Alola Mach to switching into a Grass type move. So I figured that he wouldn't want to put one of those three into sleep. Whatever three of those would have come in for my behalf, whichever choice he would have think that I would be doing. So I took this turn, get up my Stealth Rocks and make my Seismitoad as the Sleep Fodder, which was the mode that I was most okay being at sleep at this point of time. And now capping the rocks up is gonna help me pressuring him, not able to get his own Stealth Rocks up unless he is able to find his turn to defog, which speaking of that looks to be something that he's gonna be prioritized of doing, as I went to my Alola Mach because I didn't want to swap into my Kyurem-Black or Rotom-Heat on a potential slot bomb and keep them healthy, especially Kyurem-Black to keep it outside of range of a Focus Blast from the Slowbro. So here, as he went for the defog as I expected, I took the turn to go for the knockoff, intensified the Empoleon a little bit by its item that it was holding, which was the Shocker Berry, which is really nice to get rid of for my Landorus-Therian. And also just generated some general damage on that Empoleon is gonna be nice for potentially two-shotting with my other members, including the Starmie, which I went in as he went for the Scald. If he went for the Stealth Rocks, I probably would have kept going for the Rapid Spin or gone for the Thunderbolt. I probably would have gone for the Thunderbolt as I would have and tried to find a turn to go for the Rapid Spin later on and gone from there, but because he went for the Scald, I went for the Thunderbolt. He prioritized to keep the Empoleon around, make the safer play, going to his Sylveon just to get the slow bottom pass off as I swap into my Rotom-Heat. And here I went to the Rotom-Heat because I just wanted to not allow anything else to take the Hyper Voice, to be completely honest. And Rotom-Heat is always in a very good position, just pivoting around everything, because he doesn't have a good defensive response to this thing for the most part if the Sylveon is not out, because I'm always clicking a Volt Switch and getting a momentum off because he doesn't have anything to stop it. So we are repeating the progress, but now you're gonna be seeing that he's gonna be pulling off his ace and going for the Focus Blast on my Kyurem-Black, which is the 3rd time in a row that I went to this thing. But I was okay him allowing to get this prediction right if he lands the Focus Blast, because now I'm in a position that okay, you got that right, but I'm getting a kill and something is gonna die to a +2 modest Kyurem-Black, and I go for the Shadow Ball here. I could have tried to go for a Roost or Light Screen as I would expect him to swap out his Slowbro, but I figured it should not matter and I'd rather go for the kill immediately just in case if he stays in, cause if the Empoleon goes down like it does, my Kyurem-Black is in a health that it can definitely come in now for free and not worry about Stealth Rocks, and I can roost off on his slower things like a Moongus or Slowbro later on if I need to do that ever. So that was the initial play from there, that's why I went for the attack immediately and I got my first kill, which is very important to get, so this doesn't for whatever reason end up being a 6 versus 6 timer stall. And my opponent would have better chance to win it with his fatter team with the all the recovery options that he has. And then he went to his Infernape, went for the Flare Blitz, as I went to the Mach first to scout what move he would lock himself into, knowing that I take any 2 hit from it. If he puts me up below 50%, the berry pops. If he keeps me outside of 50%, I might hesitate him for staying in, and that's what happens as he locked himself into Flare Blitz. He didn't want to stay in and he swapped into his Amoonguss, but I made my swap into Rotom-Heat, covering him going for the Flare Blitz as well as covering his potential swap. So in that sense, the middle ground play that I did was able to provide me a turn that I can go for the Volt Switch and yet again put myself in a position that as this Sylveon now came in, I pulled the trigger, going to my Landorus-Therian now and go for the Sword Dance, cause now he has nothing to take this hit. And now I can go for the raw fly from here as he's gonna go into his Amoonguss, and I would think that has a Hidden Power Ice coming to my way. But as long as I land this and he's not like a funky ass Cobra Berry set, which he is not, that is gonna be the kill and the second kill of the game for me. And the Amoonguss goes down, revealing that he has a Rocky Helmet, so that definitely was his dedicated counter for a Mega Lopunny. With the Rocky Helmet chip, I'm still outside of range of a Bug Pass from a Choice Specs Young Mega, but because I don't know if he's a C-move or not, I'm gonna make my scouting play, kinda like sacking my Seismitoad to a potential C-move, cause that was the only way for him to kill it. The Landorus-Therian that is. So I figured it's better for me to scout that and not let my Landorus-Therian go down until I know. But because of how much he did the damage on my Seismitoad, he is definitely Choice Specs. And him swapping out for whatever reason with his Yanmega and not finishing me off and going to his Infernape on my Seismitoad at being at 3% of health. That, I'm not sure why he made that play. I'm curious to see from my opponent's perspective on his live commentary that what was the thought progress behind it. But what that enables me to do is that I was able to burn a sleep turn. And what happens there is that if he wasn't a Choice Scarf, I had a potential turn to kill that Infernape, outspeed it and kill it with an Earthquake, which I went for right there on that turn when the Infernape came in. And if he does outspeed me and I don't get the chance even waking up, that gave me the intel that okay, that Infernape is Choice Scarf. So even though Seismitoad doesn't really get to do anything like he was able to shine in last week versus Flying Bird, and it won't be showing anything on the stats in itself besides just dies and doesn't kill anything, it gave me huge information with the Seismitoad, tanking the Choice Spec Bug Pass from a Yanmega, and also revealing the fact the Infernape is Choice Scarf, which is huge information because now I know what his offensive moves are all about. And speaking of them, as there was a position that he had to bring something in, he went to his Yanmega, clicked the U-turn as I respond with my Rotom-Heat as my lead of choice after I saw his lead, and I went for the Volt Switch. Kinda expecting him not to risk a overheat, on the Mega because he would have died there, and he could not kill me with anything at that point of time. And even like a Ancient Power or a Tinted less boosted Bug Buzz, neither of them would have killed me. So I figured from there it's better for me to go for the Volt Switch, even if he stays in for whatever reason and makes a worse play what he could do in my eyes of staying in with it, the risk overheat. I could always respond to that if he stayed in, took the Volt Switch and go into my Alola Mach, cause my Alola Mach is right now outside of range of a Choice Specs Bug Buzz. So I could have gone into that thing, tanked the hit, kill it off with a knockoff, and then the berry would have as well popped. After that I leave myself above 50% of health, whatever I was before the berry would be eaten by the Mach itself. So it was kind of like a no throwback play from me. And with the Volt Switch I just provide myself momentum as he went to his Infernape, expecting the overheat, and tried to make a very aggressive play there yet again with it, which lost him quite a good chunk of health of the Infernape, which is gonna be kinda hindering it in the long run. And here I just went for the Side Shock on the versus the Infernape itself after I got the Volt Switch on it. And I got the choice of what to bring in. I took a little time to try to see if he takes the bait of Stegen and me able to kill it, but he doesn't fall for that and makes a proper swap into the Sylvia, knowing that I also backed a Thunderbolt and didn't also risk a Yanmega to come in on that turn or his Slowbros. So in either way I was able to now take my time, knowing that he is forced to go for the Wish, to go into my Rotom-Heat, and now I do the same thing that I tried to do already like early on the battle and try to paralyze this thing so my Alola Mach can outspeed it, because at this point I was still hesitant allowing my Alola Mach potentially get hacked by the Sylveon getting critted, and I wanted to preserve that thing's health. And also the Rotom-Heat is gonna definitely be in our range of Yanmega, to the point that these two definitely could be able to beat that thing 1v1, or one of them at least will finish it off for certain. But here I do decide to pull the trigger and go for the Volt Switch after the Sylveon was being paralyzed, and he decides to go for the bottom pass right there and go into the Yanmega, which I was actually pretty happy with that he does that, because I knew the fact that I will live this hit. He was banking that I don't live it, but what happens here is that I'm able to get the berry from the Bug Buzz hit as he hits me, and it's gonna pop for me, and that's gonna put me in a range that after I knock off its Choice Specs, I'm able to beat this thing 1v1 unless he tries to flinch me down, and that's what he's gonna try to be doing. And he gets it on the first try, and I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna be playing these games and let my Mach go down like that. And knowing the fact that this is not Choice Specs anymore, I know I can go into Rotom-Heat, and based on the damage that I did now with the knockoff earlier by getting rid of the Choice Specs, now it's definitely in a range of Volt Switch. I can take any one hit from this thing. I don't think his best play would be trying to flinch me down, so he's gonna go for the Bug Buzz, which is the hardest hitting move, weakening down my Rotom-Heat and losing his Yanmega there. And I go for the Volt Switch, just finishing it off and choose whatever I'm gonna be bringing in. I chose to go into my Landorus-Therian at this point, because you can take any one hit from the Infernape, barring like a Hidden Power Ice randomly coming from it. Even then I think I take it because how healthy I am, and he's not like a special attacking orientated. If he goes into Slowbro I can just U-turn. If he went to his Sylvia and just Sword Dance and claim the kill on the following turn. So it was a no throwback play for me to bring that one in at this point of the battle. And now I just go into the Kyurem-Black, like half sacking it, but also the idea that if he goes for the Scald, I know I can take it, and I should be able to leave a potential burn afterwards as well. And because that happens, I'm gonna make a double here, kinda expecting him to not allow the Slowbro take the Shadow Ball and just die from there, because I think his best bet to try to win this game, or if he doesn't feel like he can win the game, the best chance for him to lower the differential as low as possible is to prioritize the Slowbro's health itself. So I figured that the Sylvia would coming, and it's the most expendable mon at this point. He could have taken any one hit, and then the Kyurem-Black hopefully for him would have gone down to the burn damage itself. So I was able to get that call right that he would try to do that. I went to the Alolan mark. It also kind of covered the play if the Slowbro stayed in, as long as I didn't get scalp burned. That I would be able to beat that thing 1v1 from there. And then I go for the Figgy Berry, as he's able to get the Wish passing off into the Infernape. And I want to emphasize on the fact that this may look like a too passive a play from my behalf, and giving him this chance to Wish pass back into the Infernape to better health. But my idea and reasoning for doing this is that if I get the recycle off, as I do, and I eat the berry immediately, I'm gonna put myself outside of range of Jolly Infernape killing me with close combats and flare blitzes, which I feel like if he wants to go safe with his choice Scarfer, he needs to be Jolly, because Kyurem-Black with its speed here, if he's adamant, he cannot outspeed that thing guaranteed. So there's a chance he has to be Jolly versus me. If he's adamant versus me, then it's a roll to kill me, but even then he has to lock himself into a flare blitz, which means that he's gonna be taking recall, which my Mach will take on that turn after taking a berry easily, and then I can sack something on my team like a Rotom-Heat for example, and then I can go into a mode that definitely can take the hit and proceed to revenge kill the Infernape. So I figured that whatever he does, even if he went to this Infernape, by the way, because I don't have attack investment either, I probably needed a max roll to even kill this thing, because if that is 44% of health, that was the max roll that I would have done to an Infernape in itself with my Mach set that I would be running, which is not attack invested in itself. So I figured that, you know what, it's probably better even if he tries to make this play that he did. Wish passing into it, and now I can just stay in, and you're gonna be able to see that I take the Flare Blitz on a following turn pretty well. And basically what this means that I'm actually in a pretty much the same health that I was before recycling, and Infernape is actually gonna be lower than it was before the Wish passing, because I did go for the poison jab, and with the poison itself that I'm able to snatch, this Infernape is on a huge timer right now. And now he's gonna be continuing going for the flare blitzes, and because my Rotom-Heat is so low, it's gonna actually die to that hit. But it's okay for me, because here I'm able to basically go into my Starmie at this point and click Thunderbolt, because it's definitely gonna kill this Infernape. I think even Rapid Spin would kill at this point. But I'm gonna be going for the Thunderbolt because I covered the Slowbro coming in and try to get a Regenerator off and position himself better with that. And if he goes into Sylvia, I don't really mind it, because then I can go into my Mach and go from there. And he has no double to make at that point that can save him from there, since the Infernape basically dies to any one turn of recall of poison. So I get the call right in the Slowbro that he came in, that it's gonna be two-shotted from there, as you were able to tell, and I just stay in for another turn, go for the Thunderbird, try to finish it off, but he's gonna preserve the Slowbro, go into his Sylveon, and here I'm kinda outside of the range of killing it potentially, so I'm gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna be swapping into my Mach, as he potentially goes for the Wish. And with Mach coming in at this point, it's better for me to just go for the poison jab. Whatever he does, I can go from there. If he would try to hard swap into Slowbro, I would have just recycled in front of it and clicked Toxic and put it on a timer and just beat that thing anyway 1v1. But he decided to stay in, try to go for a Hyper Voice or bottom pass. No matter what it's gonna be, he died to it anyways. And the Sylveon is done, so the only two mods that he still has remaining is this Infernape, which is literally has only one turn of living left. So he's gonna go Kamikaze and kill my Kyurem-Black as I'm sacking it. And the only mod remaining is going to be the Slowbro, which should lose to my Starmie unless he has like a Shadow Ball, I think, as a hardest hitting move that he could hit me with. And I should, like, I'm pretty sure I can take it unless he's offensively invested. which I don't think he is at this point throughout the battle, what I've been able to tell. So we take that. He goes for the Grass Knot, revealing that he did have that for my Grass types. I guess because how much the Grass Knot did that, maybe the Shadow Ball would have killed. But anyways, it would have came down to the point that Slowbro being the last one, I would have gotten the Thunderbolt damage to the point that my Landorus-Therian would have killed that thing. So that is gonna be the game. Very, very, very long battle versus Marolt, but it's a very good game. It was like a chess match and it was a testament of patience for me to play around this ride. I think for the most part I feel like the better team won this, and I don't want to come out too cocky with this, but I feel like my preparation versus his own kind of made this an easier battle for me to win than it was for him if both of us played at least somewhat accordingly to their build. If I didn't like throw away my offensive threats to beat down his defensive walls, then he had a definitely good opening to win this game. But because I was able to preserve my right mons to deal with his fatter mons and position myself right in the late game, it felt like a matter of time for me to win this game itself. Outside of hacks maybe, I guess, come into play. But it doesn't mean that I don't think my opponent played well. I think Marolt played actually pretty well. He made a lot of good plays as well to try to keep up momentum from his side and position himself well with the Inferno, which ended up getting 3 kills, which is the highest amount of any mon getting getting kills throughout this battle from my side of his side combined. So he definitely did good job throughout the battle. Battling wise, I think team building wise there was more to be decided. I think he overdid the defensive aspect of his team, and he probably at least realized throughout the battle, or after we talked after the battle when he asked my advice, that how did he play, was there anything he could have done differently. And honestly, like I said to him back then, I'll be saying it right now, I think the team building aspect is the one where he could have done better job to give himself better chance to win. When it comes to battling, I think he played perfectly fine. And yeah, that's gonna be the week 4 battle. Very long game, so hopefully you all enjoyed it regardless. It was a very tough game regardless to really play out, and we are able to snatch ourselves a 3-0 win. But that is gonna be the week 4 game. Tomorrow we're gonna be having the NPL Majors game from my point of view when I go up against IA. But until then, until next time, I'm gonna be see you guys later.